Okay, in this section now we will go a little beyond the simple Mendelian genetics that we have been studying so far. Within Mendel's characteristic, what was more important was either a trait was dominant or one was recessive, and we use the term as unifactorial because one gene consists of a single gene pair or alleles. However, there are many characteristics that show a multifactorial effect. So this interesting image up here, which shows you the Himalayan rabbits that have a patch covered over here, and you can see how it's dark. We will go a little bit more depth into the understanding of this kind of scenario. So the first thing I want to go over is incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominance, as the name tells you, it's about dominant that cannot be fully masked by the recessive allele. So for example, an incomplete dominance can be exhibited when you have a red flower crossed with a white flower, and instead of having all the dominant feature, whether it's red or white, you have an intermediate feature, which is the pink flower. Now the pink phenotype or the intermediate is because the plant is neither red or white, and it's called as the incomplete dominance. That means both of the expressions are not completely expressed. The 4 o'clock flowers, the color can be explained by this concept. Another one is sickle cell anemia, and curly versus straight hair is also a combination of incomplete dominance. Notice over here, both of the alleles are shown as uppercase. We did not use uppercase lower than the standard dominant and recessive because we're saying that both of these can be intermediately expressed. Let's look at a very important example of codominance, and that is found in the blood abiotype. In the blood abiotyping, it's important to realize that there are 3 alleles for the same gene, and it is controlled by the ABO blood type. And these alleles can be determined by the presence or absence of an antigen on the red blood cell. So, for example, the IA is an allele. I'm trying to get my pen. Hang on. I need to. Okay, there is my pen back. So the allele that says IA is actually an A is an antigen on the red blood cell, and then you can have either IB, or you can have neither A or B, and that's written as the lowercase I. Each person can have 2 of the 3 possible alleles, and both IA and IB are dominant over I. So for example, you can see up here, if you have IBI, this parent is going to express B blood typing. If you have IAI, then it's an A blood typing. However, if an IA and an IB, and they're both heterozygous, marry each other, then the alleles that you can see up here are separated, IA and lowercase I. And again, the same thing with the B. Now, the combination of A and B together is expressed in a new blood type, which is the AB blood type. And up here, this will be again a B blood type. This would be the A blood type. However, this combination in which you are missing both the antigen is actually the blood type, which is the O blood type. So at this time, what we're noticing is that the blood typing A, B, AB, and O are all different blood types. And when you are Rh positive, your red blood cells have a particular antigen, and when you are Rh negative, that antigen is controlled by the single allelic pair in which a simple dominance prevails. Rh positive is a dominant, while Rh negative is a recessive allele. So the inheritance of the ABO blood group in human is an example of what we call as codominance, and it gives you multiple alleles. This inheritance pattern differs greatly from the previous findings or the discussions we did with Mendel, where we had either the dominant or the recessive. What we're saying is an individual has blood type AB. Both A and B types of the glycolipids appear on the red blood cells, and these two different letters that are expressed are expressing a coding for a new new phenotype. So this is something we are very much familiar with. Okay, let's go. What is polygenetic diseases? Inheritance. Polygenetic inheritance means that many genes are producing a trait that is governed by two or more sets of alleles, and in reality, that is the real fact. Scale colors in humans, human height, the eye color, the seed color in wheat. These are characteristics that explain that these traits are not influenced by just one factor, but the gene is influenced by environment, rarely, but it's more than one factor, more than one sets of alleles, I should say, that are influenced and influence these characteristics. And you can see the proportion of different alleles that are shown with this graph up here. In this example, an allele that is shown because we have three different combinations that shows that they are controlled by three different genes, and only the alleles represented by, for example, the capital letter contributes to the phenotype of an individual. So when we see two F1 individuals, which are the first generation individuals with the genotype of heterozygous, let's see, this is the one that I want to show you, is this one. Then you can see that this is the most dominant characteristic up here. The others, you can see there are only two alleles that are common and not the others. So it's mainly the combinations of the allele that cause polygenetic inheritance. Another interesting factor is the concept of epistasis. Epistasis has to do with polygenetic diseases and or polygenetic inheritance. I don't know why I keep on saying diseases. Polygenetic inheritance, and what we're saying is one gene may affect many traits. So, for example, the skin and the eye color are examples of epistasis. That is the amount of brown, for example, on your eyes. The amount of gray in your eyes would be the epistasis, which can vary in different individuals. The picture earlier that I had up here, which I will show to you again, up about the Himalayan rabbits, is an example of epigenetics, in which what they've done is they have covered this patch, and because the environment is cold and having this region of ice pack, which is the cold region, forces the new fur to come out as black instead of white, because the enzyme melanin is produced in the rabbit only at very low temperatures. Many human disorders, such as, for example, the cleft lip or clubfoot or congenital dislocation of the hip or diabetes, and even allergies and some cancers, are polygenetic disorders. Therefore, many investigators are considering to understand what % of the trait is controlled by the gene, because if they can artificially maneuver and fix the genes that affect those behaviors, such as, for example, suicidal behaviors or alcoholic traits, it will be easier to understand and treat patient. In conclusion, an organism's environment history plays a lot of effect to the expression of its genotype. You may be having the genotype, but the environment can affect on how that genotype is expressed in the phenotype.